Oh, shit, we're starting, and I'm still trying to use WASD to move my camera. Oh no, what am I doing? Nope, we don't want this. This is how often I play this game, guys. Why have I got a big mouse? There we go. Press W, gives you a big mouse. Anyway, we've got a game here between Korbo and Autisticus Maximus. Pretty active intermediate players at the moment. And, you know, I've been struggling for replays. I figure, why not cast these guys, see how they do. It's a pretty interesting matchup, the Lictor Alpha versus the Inquisitor, or just IG in general, but a lot of people would argue that the Inquisitor is the best IG hero against Tyranids. Definitely a viable argument there. We're going to see the Lictor Alpha going for the sneaky decap right at the start. Interesting that Autisticus Maximus isn't noding that straight away, given that he's chosen not to get the instant sergeants. Usually that's the dilemma you have. If you buy the sergeant straight away, you can't afford the node, and you shouldn't do that for that reason. Especially because, let's face it, you guys are only going to be capping early on. They're not very good pre-sergeant anyway. Better to use your sentinel and your hero. But he isn't buying that anyway, so I don't know if that means he wants double sentinel. Maybe. And that means he's going to have his power node decapped. Quite a decent level start here. We've got combat all over the map. Units are split up. Nothing is blobbing up. The Inquisitor putting on pressure against the Hormagaunts. Gets a really good special in actually. Right at the start. Does decent damage against them. Gets a kill on the Hormagaunt with a plasma pistol. You don't see that very often. Plasma pistols, of course, doing less damage against light infantry. Oh, beautiful special there. And the plasma pistol hit as well. Hammer the Witches to kill another model, but now she needs to get out of there. Hormagaunts do some pretty good damage on retreat. Look at all that XP she's got though. What's happening over here? Sentinel took a lot of damage, routed these termagants. Then the Lictor Alpha came in, I guess, and made the Sentinel run away. This has been recapped by this Guardian squad that took the VP. It's now been noded, and he's going for his Sergeant. So no double Sentinels. Instead choosing to get the ground pound and spending some of that requisition on the power node. I mean, all in all, this was very questionable. It was pointless. If you don't want to go for your Sergeants early on, which frankly you shouldn't, you have two choices. You node straight away, or you go for a double Sentinel or a third Guardsman. And he didn't go for either, so there you go. Now what's interesting about this matchup is, both the Imperial Guard and the Tyranids are races that have very powerful tier 1s. The Imperial Guard are a little bit stronger early on, prior to the Gaunts getting their upgrades, because Gaunts, by default, are rubbish. They're worse than your average unit from another race. That's why they're only 8 pop. They've got less HP, less damage. But when you get their upgrades, they don't cost any more pop, yet they actually become comparable to normal squads, because they get extra HP and extra damage. Add in then Synapse, which is a buff to any nearby Tyranid units that cost no pop, and the Tyranid tier 1.5 is actually really, really powerful, because whilst their early game tier 1 is weak, it's so cheap, you never go above 30 pop, so you don't pay any upkeep. It's really cheap. So you get a little bit of pressure early on as the Imperial Guard, when you can use your Sentinel early on, and your hero's quite powerful, and Guardsmen, of course, with their Sergeant, will trade brilliantly with any ranged squad. They're probably the best tier 1 unit in the game at dealing with ranged troops without upgrades. But once the Gaunts start getting upgrades, once you get Synapse on the field, things start to change, and I would argue that the tier 1.5 for the Tyranids is much stronger than the Imperial Guard one. Now, one thing that you have to be wary of course, the Imperial Guard is potential for Barb Strangler Warrior Broods. Compositionally, they are really rough to fight as Imperial Guard, because Imperial Guard don't get either of the normal counters to the Barb Stranglers. Firstly, you could get a setup team, and the Barb Strangler will get suppressed before it can get into range, because suppression teams are much longer range than the Warriors. Or you get a jump squad, and you jump on it and kill it in melee. Well, Guardsmen don't really get either of them. You do get a heavy weapons team, so you could get a heavy weapons team, but the problem there is, well, firstly there's a Lictor, so then you need to get Cadishans, because you need a separate unit to detect with the Imperial Guard. And the other problem is, then they could just get Raveners and overwhelm you in melee, because you don't really have very good melee forces as the Imperial Guard. Cadishans are really overextended here. They shouldn't be in the front like this. The guardsmen need to be taking the range damage and then have the Cadishans as support. Oh, really lucky Lictor special there, hitting everything as soon as he gets into combat from that special. So a lot of pressure from Korbo. Oh, and that's it. He takes out the Sentinel because of the high speed and damage of the Termagants. Because he's now got 3 of them and they've all got upgrades. This is what happens in the matchup. The Sentinel puts on loads of pressure in tier 1, but when you get to tier 1.5, that later stage where your power costing tier 1 units come out, the Sentinel becomes a lot less effective because you can actually out DPS the repairs of it using these Termagants. And he doesn't even have Synapse on the field right now, which would obviously make these Termagants a lot more tanky. Oh, we see the Flamers from Autisticus. I actually really like that. I think Flamers are really good in this matchup. I mean, the thing is, they absolutely melt gods. There can be no denying it. You should see the speed at which they melt Termagants. It's horrifying. But the downside, of course, is that once Synapse comes on the field, you'd rather have Plasma to try and pop the Synapse, especially in Tier 2 when there's a Venom Brood buffing all their ranged troops. And obviously by getting the Flamers, you can't upgrade to the Plasma guns. However, he's feeling pressured, so he's gone for the Flamers, which will certainly help him in Tier 1 more than getting nothing would. So we'll see how it does for him. Yeah, Korbo's saying I'm guessing I actually need warriors. There's no reason you shouldn't. I mean, you're playing as Tyranids. You want to elongate your tier 1 as much as possible. When IG can start getting firing lines set up and can be popping your Synapse creatures really easily with their plasma guns, they start getting upgraded guardsmen. Your Termagants can get another upgrade in tier 2, but it's not going to be on par with upgraded guardsmen. You want to press the advantage while you can, and that is in tier 1 with Tyranids, particularly the tier 1.5. I would also like to see the Pheromones upgrade. I was actually, oh man, that special attack, oh that was brutal. Is he going to get the wipe? He should be Hammer of the Witching the Lictor. He doesn't have any energy for a Flesh Hook, so Autisticus is really lucky. Is he using Stalk? He's not even used Stalk. Why the fuck is this Lictor so fast? Holy shit. Lictor could actually try and kill this, but the problem is the Lictor has less than 100 HP. Walks into an IED! That was so unlucky. Yeah, that was pretty unlucky. He just walked right into that. He was obviously trying to evade the Inquisitor because he knew that the Hammer of Witches would just one-shot him. Sizable VP lead so far for the Imperial Guard, and I think that will come into play, to be honest. Caldaris is a map where it really is very easy to defend 2 VPs. You just plant an army down here, you've got a massive open area where you can set up a firing line, and yeah, there are flanks. There's a flank here and there's a flank here, so 2 flanking positions, but it's so easy to just turn around and protect from them. Yeah, it's not a very easy map to push against someone who's camping the mid, and obviously, I'm sure you guys are well aware, Imperial Guard are a very good race at camping. Drop a few bunkers down, get some heavy weapons teams with their shields up. Yeah, it's going to be rough. So I think Korbo should be focusing on the VPs a fair bit, actually. Of course, he could still play a tech game and he could get something like a Barbed Strangler Khan effects, and that will absolutely devastate Imperial Guard. You also have the Zoanthrope, which is a nice artillery option. Artillery, of course, being useful to deal with static play from your opponent. But the Inquisitor's a bit annoying when it comes to using things like Zoanthropes. She can snipe them quite easily. Hammer of the Witches on retreat is going to do full damage, and that's quite scary. She also has that infiltration armor as well, so she can start infiltrating Cadishans behind you and they can melee it while it's retreating. She can be infiltrating Stormtroopers for longer, so they don't have to use their own energy to infiltrate. And she can call in the Stormtroopers for free as well. And remember that Stormtroopers, with their assault kit, move faster and shoot further than typical Guardsmen. So that can be quite scary for a Zoanthrope to deal with. Oh, is it under 100 HP? It is. Ah, nice. Autisticus really making use of these IEDs. IEDs killing the Lictor Alpha twice now. And again, this is a reason to get warriors. Korbo obviously playing off race here. I'm not actually sure what Korbo plays typically, but yeah. Whoops. I mean, you get AoE damage and on-demand suppression on a mobile unit that doesn't even need to set up. You get detection and you get synapse. In a matchup where you want to be pressing your advantage in tier 1.5, warriors are an absolute must. I could see a reason to not go for it if you're playing as the Hive Tyrant because you've got your natural synapse anyway. Certainly while you're the Lictor Alpha or the Ravener, you have to get warriors in this matchup. You have to. Huge amount of unnecessary damage taken on the Hormagaunts there, but this is a giant blob push and... oh my god, that Hell Fury. Little bit late with the Venom Brood there, to be honest. That Hell Fury kind of sealed the deal. Korbo was bloody lucky not to lose any of his squads here. The problem is, he doesn't actually have Endless Swarm upgraded, I don't believe. Therefore, this is going to cost him loads. Oh no, he's got it. He's got it. Did he get it on everything? Let's see. Yeah, I think he did. Okay, so that actually doesn't cost him that much. He's already got triple Endless Swarm. That's hilarious. Nice. I assume, yeah, he's going for the ranged synapse, so at least he's aware that the Venom Brood do buff your ranged blob. Yeah, Pheromone is definitely a solid option here. That's something you would typically see in tier 1 because you are going for like a triple gaunt thing in all the fights, and then you use the Hormagaunts to cap. So you're always going to have these triple gaunts, and gaunts are very cheap to reinforce, but don't have a lot of health per model. So that just means drop a Pheromone down and it's going to give you a huge advantage in every fight. Every single model that you bleed, you can easily and cheaply replace. Not to mention, if you drop that thing on top of the enemy ranged blob, it's going to give them a massive damage debuff as well. So it can be very, very strong in tier 1 engagements. And that can be the difference between being able to snipe an enemy sentinel or not. Now we see some of the static play that I was kind of preempting. This map, it's just, why would you not go for static play on this map as Imperial Guard? It's too tempting not to. It's so easy to do so. However, I was going to say a Zone Throw would counter this just brilliantly. I mean, he's just got a blob of Guardsmen and Cadetians. Nothing really stopped the Zone Throw. Flamer's doing beautiful amounts of damage. Oh, into a Hell Fury! Oh, yeah, just needs to get out of there straight away. The thing is, you're not really inflicting much bleed onto him because he's already got Endless Swarm. And let's look at the pop. Pop-wise, yeah, Korbo's on significantly less pop. Not a huge amount less, but significantly less. And that's including the Raveners. Okay, I didn't realise that. Yeah, so that goes to show the power of the Termagants in terms of just economic efficiency. Now, that is being caused by the fact that Autisticus has actually got triple Commissar plus Sergeant, so he's got both of the upgrades on the Guardsmen, and while that does make them really combat effective, it makes them really intensive for your economy. These Hormagaunts, honestly, they shouldn't have even gone into that. You just, you know... Oh my god, these Flamers are doing so much damage. Has he gone for double Flamers? Yeah, he has. Wow. Yeah, the Hormagaunts, without any buffs, they're just not going to do anything. They needed to get out of there. They should have just been running down the side and gem bashing, running down here, getting deep caps in the wreck. There's no point using them in the main fights. Not unless you're going to go for Adrenal Gland Warriors and go the full melee route, which you can do. IG are actually quite vulnerable to melee in tier 2, when Cadetians become a lot less useful. Just plants the Capillary Tower right in front of the Heavy Weapons team. The Heavy Weapons team should just be able to focus this down fairly easily, but you've got to manually target it. They don't automatically hit Capillary Towers. It doesn't look like he's going to do it. Is he? No. So I guess they're spawning Rippers or something? Maybe not. I don't know why he's not targeting it. Anyway, the Lictor manages to sneak around and tie up that heavy weapons team, so now we can push back. Autisticus is just taking to tier 3, but honestly, Korbo should be... Well, he should have gone to tier 3 ages ago. Though he could do with dropping down another generator or 2. As his economy is going to become quite imbalanced. I mean, in tier 2 with Tyranids you don't really need any power. However, you suddenly need shitloads of it in tier 3 when you try and field Carnifex or the Swarm Lord, so... It can often shock a Tyranid player who's not very experienced, because he realizes throughout tier 2 that he doesn't really need a lot of power, so he doesn't drop the extra gens, because, you know, it's just a waste, he needs requisition more. And then suddenly he gets to tier 3 and he finds himself completely power starved. The problem with this engagement is Korbo just has no means of control. If he had Bar Strangler Warriors, this would be very trivial. I mean, that whole blob would have been suppressed. And not only does it suppress the entire blob, it also does really good damage. And then you just shoot, move, stop, suppress, shoot, move, stop. Just stutter step. Because Tyranids have that burst fire mechanic, where and units in Dawn of War 2 reload while they're moving automatically. So you always want to be abusing that stutter stepping as much as possible with Tyranids. So Autisticus is getting most of the map, but they're both even in tech. The Lehman Russ is going to be brutal to handle because of the fact that there are currently triple guardsmen on the field. That is triple repairs, and that's 40 HP per second. There isn't even any AV on the field right now for Korbo. I hope that he doesn't go for a melee Carnifex or anything like that, because otherwise the Lehman Russ is going to just be really punishing. He's going to need a Venom Cannon Carnifex if he wants any hope of killing a Lehman Russ, unless Autisticus really fucks up. I said there wasn't any AV in the field. There is. He's already got the Venom Brood, but... I mean, that's not going to do too much against a Lehman Russ. In fact, it can be quite detrimental. If your Venom Brood is in the middle of your army and you send it against Lehman Russ, the Venom Brood can easily lose models, and then that's your whole army getting knocked over and losing 10% of their health. Not ideal. So the Carnifex is coming out. Let's see where he is for the Lehman Russ. Needs a fair bit more power. I think the Lehman Russ is about 135 power or something. I'm not familiar with the game costs. I don't play this game. Pretty good engagement actually for Korbo here. Victor Alpha getting some beautiful specials this match. If he used Stalk there, he might have actually killed that Guardsman squad. If he used Stalk and the Corrosive Cysts. Not seeing any Rippers being spawned out of Capillary Towers either. That's a mistake on Korbo's behalf. Every single engagement he should be throwing in a Ripper squad, just tying things up. No reason not to. I don't know if those Raveners have enough energy for a burrow. No, they don't. I think it's 65. I know it's notably high for the Raveners. Higher than typical jump squads. Flesh hooks in the Commissar. Should just be pressing S. Is that a Hell Fury strike? That's not worth it. Yeah, he retreats out of it. He didn't really need to. I mean, he could have just dodged it. Even having not dodged it, it doesn't really matter. Okay. Termagants over on the side stop idling and actually go to cap the power point. The Lehman Russ is now on the battlefield. Wait, did he go melee? Oh no, he didn't. He went Barb Strangler. Fair enough. I mean, that's better than melee. It obviously shuts down this blob really well, but the concern is that it's not going to deal with a Lehman Russ very well. Lehman Russ first shot hits a wall. Ah, fuck, I lose. Nah, you don't lose. You can definitely still win this. But you need to get the Carnifex out of there. You shouldn't just be standing there. Is that got an upgrade? No, it's just default battle cannon for now. Lehman Russ shoots the Raveners instead because it's dum-dum. Carnifex does a runner. I mean, the thing is, Autisticus actually got no tier 2 units other than a heavy weapons team, so you kind of should be able to anticipate that he's probably just fast-teching and going for a tank. And if you know anything about the matchup, you know that tanks are really hard for Tyranids to deal with because they don't have a long-range AV setup team that can outrange the tank. So you want to try and... Your only way to kill a tank is to use the Venom Brood, which isn't very good because the tank has too much HP and just can 1v1 it. Or a Carnifex, and that means when you get your Carnifex, you need to consider really hard whether you're going to make it into a Venom Cannon version, because that's your only option a lot of the time to actually kill the enemy tanks. But holy shit, is this Barb Strangler putting in a lot of work. Venom Brood though, just gets popped. Purgatus was really brutal there. Oh my god, oh the special attack! Into a Tyrannoformation that might kill the Carnifex, it does! The Tyrannoformation kills the Carnifex. Is it going to kill a Guardsman squad? No, I don't think so. Did any of them die? Oh no, it killed one. Okay, he got a Guardsman squad. He didn't replace his gens though. Yeah, I did say that. That's a thing that happens. You get content because you have ample power in tier 2 no matter what, and you always feel like you're running out of requisition, but then you forget to replace them, and this happens where now he's miles off being able to get replacement Carnifex, even though he's got really good requisition income. Because he didn't replace those generators. He doesn't even have the power node, so that was a mistake. At least he's got the power node down here, so he's got roughly 2 generators worth of income. He also owns the center VP, and Autisticus has retreated all of his infantry, so he's actually getting a nice amount of VPs on him, but the problem is he's already behind in VPs to start with, so not great. Didn't need to retreat there. That was definitely a misplay. Should have just infiltrated and walked away. Absolutely no reason to retreat. Indeed, there is no heavy melee upgrade on the Lictor Alpha. The only pseudo anti-vehicle upgrade is the Corrosive Claw, which puts a doom effect on the vehicle, so it takes more damage, and it also slows the vehicle down. But the actual weapon itself doesn't do very much damage. Venom Brood getting a lot of free shots into the Lima Russ here. The Lima Russ isn't hitting it. Shooting at Termagants. Again, Korbo just retreats out of the Hell Fury. Not really necessary. Not really necessary. Bit premature. Could have pushed that a bit more, I think. Delayed this cap. Took a few more models off those guardsmen. However, he has managed to get enough money for the Carnifex. What's a Carnifex cost these days? 150 power. Now the problem is it's going to take him forever to get the power to actually get an upgrade for it. However, we all know that the Carnifex with the Venom Cannon will do really well against the Lehman Russ. It can probably 1v1 it, but not when the Lehman Russ is getting repairs from the Guardsman. The other problem is that the Carnifex can't shoot while moving, and the Lehman Russ can. So your general tactic to beat it is throw a bunch of infantry in first, so the Venom Cannon Carnifex shoots the infantry, and the Venom Cannon Carnifex shoots in bursts of 2. It goes pew pew, then has a long reload, then pew pew. So basically, you send infantry in, make it shoot its pew pew at the infantry, send the tank in, get a cannon shot off, drive the tank away. By the time it reloads, the tank's gone, out of vision, out of range. Takes no damage. The Carnifex loses health. And you just rinse and repeat that. Ah, kind of went over on the Purgatus. Still hit 2 of the Venom Brood models actually. And then this happens where the Venom Brood start getting popped. Okay, we've got the Venom Cannon Carnifex, but it is kind of isolated now. I don't know what it's doing. It seems like it wants to run into melee. I'm not sure why it's running into melee. That's not going to do very good. I think he thought it could shoot on the move. Yeah, it can't do that. You need to stand still to have it shoot. Okay, well that's going to be GG. The Venom Cannon Carnifex not shooting on the move, I must admit, it's not very intuitive, given that the Venom Brood can shoot on the move. Oh no, he's learning bugs. Yeah. So all you'd have to do to stop the venom cannon running into melee is press S. Cancel all its commands, and then it goes back to the default behavior for the venom cannon. But there you go. Yeah, that's kind of game changing. He obviously needed the venom cannon to deal with the Lehman Russ. Back to the venom cannon effects not being able to fire on the move. That is kind of the result of a bug. There's some sort of weird bug where when it can fire on the move, its burst shots were just really odd, and yeah, I don't even remember what the bug was. It happened in retail, like we're going back way far right now, years and years and years. And anyway, it was never able to be solved, so we just made it not be able to fire on the move, but gave it longer range and just made it more powerful. And the venom cannon effects has been kind of going all over the place over the years. Sometimes it has splash, then the splash was deemed too good, so the splash was removed because it owned infantry. Then it was deemed useless because it was just an anti-vehicle thing. You could only kill infantry with melee, which is not very good because the cannon effects without form back doesn't have a lot of HP. At the moment, the venom cannon effects is in actually a pretty decent spot, and most people are happy with it. It does have splash now, so it will deal with infantry reasonably well, especially fat infantry as well. And it's really good at tank sniping because the bioplasma ability doesn't do much to infantry, just knocks them over so it can stop caps and set up teams. But against vehicles, it does about 200 or so damage on just a random spike of damage, and you can even shoot it into the fog of war and it'll hit rear armor. It's pretty cool. It's a really good tank hunter. It's nice to have a Tyrannid for that. But with the appearance of the Baneblade, obviously Korbo has nothing to deal with that. He couldn't even handle the Lehman Russ, so that's going to be the end of this game. Probably Korbo's first game with Lictor Alpha. Didn't play it too bad, honestly. Pretty impressive. I hope to see these guys playing more and more. Before I went on to record this replay, I actually seen Korbo had a 1v1 lobby up as well at about 3 AM GMT, so there you go. The mad guy's still at it. Maybe one day we'll see him in some of the tournaments and events. Korbo, if you're watching this, what is your main? What do you actually normally play? Clearly not Tyrannids. Do you normally play the Imperial Guard? Is that what's happened here? Have you guys like swapped races? Done that cool thing where one of you's like, oh my god, your race is so OP. So then you decide, yeah, well, why don't we swap sides and see how it is from the other perspective? Which is a very mature way to handle the OP claims. You can't claim something's OP unless you yourself can play it and dominate the enemies with it. That's when you can claim it's OP, okay? Remember that, guys. Remember that. Thanks for tuning in. Torpid out.